We have formed a quorum, so please invite the deputations as well as the government representatives and the WKCDA's representatives to join us. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For today's meeting, we would like to talk about the integration and connectivity of the West Kowloon Cultural District with its neighbouring districts. We have 6 deputations or individuals attending today's meeting to address the joint subcommittee to share with us their views. The written submissions from the attendees have been sent to the government and the WKCDA, and we've also prepared an updated background brief for members' reference. Before we make a start, with receiving views from the public, since we have got quite ample time today. So I suggest that I give the floor to the WKCDA so that they can brief us on their paper so that we can understand more. So please give us the PPP.
Chairman and members of the committee, I'd just like to remind the committee about the 3 principles that actually underpin the whole of the West Kowloon project, which we've reiterated many times in terms of the public engagement and the further discussions that we've had. And those 3 concepts that underpin our project are sustainability, connectivity and accessibility. And it's important to, in today's discussion that we bear those 3 underlying concepts in mind. In July last year, we briefed the Joint Subcommittee about the integration and connectivity plans of West Kowloon. Subsequent to that, we arranged a site visit in December and brought members of the committee and other members of LegCo to look in the present state, to look at the future links to the major WKCD venues, including Zishu on the Canton Road end and M+ down on the park end of the site. Early in March and April this year, we also briefed the members on the results of the traffic impact assessment undertaken for our application for minor relaxation of development of intensity with the Town Planning Board, which is still waiting resolution. We understand members of the Joint Committee are very concerned about this subject, and as someone who drives through there many times every day, we understand some of those concerns in the present, but we'd like to focus our discussion today on how things are going to be in 2, 3, 4 years going forward. We're very pleased to provide further updates to answer questions from both members and representatives and the deputations that we're receiving today. We have also prepared a presentation which our Senior Traffic and Transport Engineer Patrick Lamb will do to explain the detailed plans. The presentation covers more information, I think, than you actually find in the paper, and we're very happy to answer any questions on that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
OK，請代表繼續介紹。嗰張 slide 係邊個介紹？
So he's going to walk us through the PowerPoint presentation. Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members, and also deputations and individuals. I would like to give you a presentation to talk about the connectivity. Well, for the paper that we have submitted, we have talked about the updated proposals for connectivity, the progress as well as the functions of each connection. So we've already outlined the details. Therefore, I'm not going to repeat the details in my presentation. Rather, for my presentation, I would like to highlight a few points that members have raised at different meetings, as well as questions or queries raised by members of the public on other occasions. I hope that through the presentation I can answer some of your questions. First of all, this is the WKCD, and probably you are quite familiar with it. On various occasions, we have already shown this map to you. CG Center on the side. And then over there, we have the M+, the park. Therefore, for such details, I'm not going to walk you through, as you're familiar with them. And then in previous discussion, I think there was one point that you are quite concerned about, namely, currently in Jordan, Tsim Sha Tsui, and this district, that is the one that I'm showing here, traffic is rather congested, Canton Road, Austin Road West, etc. Some have said that in the future, with the completion of the WKCD and with the completion of the express rail, completion of the podium property development of Austin Road Station. So with a number of huge projects completed, they are concerned about the traffic impact, given that currently traffic is already congested. They wonder whether congestion would worsen. So let me explain briefly. As of now, the congestion is rather serious, in particular during the morning as well as the evening peaks. And we are also having the construction works ongoing at WKCD, and that's why we have some traffic diversion. Therefore, you can see that it's congested. You can see that from the major junctions, you see those colored yellow and red. So this is Canton Road, Austin Road, and Austin Road West Junction is quite congested. I want to point out that on our part, as well as on the part of the Transport Department, since the year 2009, during the stage of the DP and the CP, well, all along we've always been looking at the traffic impact, and we've been assessing the traffic impact, and we try to find out solutions. From this plan, you can see that for the ones marked red or orange, you see that they are junction improvement measures. For such improvement measures, what we intend to do is to mitigate the traffic in the vicinity. Allow me to talk about the causes of the traffic congestion. Generally speaking, when you have a traffic congestion, you find it at a junction. So if you don't have the traffic lights or if you don't have any giveaway signs, then the traffic can flow through smoothly. However, when cars have to stop at traffic lights, or when they have to slow down before traffic lights, then there will be an impact. Generally speaking, for road network, you find congestion at the junctions. So, generally speaking, by improving the capacity at the junction, say for example, enhancing the capacity, then we can ease the traffic congestion. And we have adopted a similar approach. Say, for example, local widening at the junction, or we try to increase the number of lanes, more traffic lanes. And when we have heavy flow of traffic, then we try to have great separation for bridges, subways, or tunnels, underpass. So this is exactly what we have done here. Along Canton Road, we're going to widen it. On this side, Lin Chuan Road, Austin Road West, we have great separation. In other words, for right turn from Austin Road West into Lin Chuan Road, for this right turn movement, reaching the expressway or the Western Harbour Crossing or Western Harbour Tunnel, we'll have an underpass. For such improvement measures, the purpose is to enhance the junction capacity. So you can see that for such junction improvement measures, they can certainly ease the traffic congestion at the junctions. And such traffic improvement measures are planned to be completed in year 2017 in line with the XRL. In the long term, for the traffic congestion, for it to be addressed ultimately, I think probably we need the Central Kowloon route, which is an entirely enclosed route to address the problem. This is quite similar to what happened in the 1980s on the Hong Kong Island, or what we have got along, at that time along the tram route. Traffic is quite congested, like from traveling from Shau Kei Wan to Wan Chai or to Causeway Bay. If you were to travel along the tram route, it was quite congested back in those days. And then with the Island Eastern Corridor, the problem was addressed. So with the CKR, that means some of the traffic will be diverted, in particular for the longer journeys, and then we can reduce the traffic flow. For such measures, we believe that they can address some of the local traffic congestion problems. We have this junction analysis during the TIA. So when compared with the previous one, we believe that in year 2020, that is, of course, by then the XRL would have been completed, and then for this part, in 2020, the two facility days would have been completed.
And there will be construction in this section. About 1/3 of the facilities will be completed by then. And the road junction improvement works are also completed by then. Once they are done, and with 1/3 of our facilities commissioned, the operation of the junctions here will be improved from what they are now. And after the completion of the Central Kowloon route, and in 2031, when all facilities are commissioned, there won't be congestion at some of the junctions. There is still reserved capacity. There's traffic generation by the WKCD. We expect that by 2031, with so many junction improvements, traffic congestion should have been resolved. Turning back to the WKCD itself, in 2031, when the whole WKCD is completed, there will be about 4,000 odd vehicle trips. That is 22,000 odd each way at afternoon peak. That is WKCD traffic generation PCU per hour. we have done a rough comparison. In WKCD now, the 2,000 or so vehicles will be about 9%. In the afternoon peak, these 4,000 odd will take about 16% of WKCD. So we've applied for minor relaxation of development density by 15%. The extra traffic generated to be generated is about 10%. And for the vehicular accesses being planned, when we discussed with stakeholders, they were very concerned about this subject. There is only one access to the WKCD now at the roundabout at grade between Ning Chung Road and Ah Cheong Road. In future, the situation will be very different. There are 6 vehicular accesses planned. The first one is at Canton Road, which will divert traffic from Canton Road to an underground trunk road. However, this is where the current fire station is, so we have to relocate the fire station first. So at first we'll rely on Austin Road West access, and there are a few. This one is being constructed together with the XRL. There will be a big deck here in the future to link up WKCD and XRL, or the West Kowloon terminus. The deck will allow vehicles to make U-turns here, and will make use of the space here to create a lay-by for public transport such as taxis and buses. Passengers can alight here and walk to WKCD, and then at grade on Ning Chung Road and Austin Road West, there will be a major underground access underpass with 3 routes, 2 ways, so a total of 6 routes. We expect that most vehicles will access the area at this point because it is the most convenient place to the Western Harbour Crossing and WKCD. And here there will be a lay-by for people to alight and access our area. Further west, at Ning Chung Road and Austin Road West, the access will remain. However, there is a footbridge here which will be converted to link up with WKCD. So there will be an access both on top and below, respectively. So there will be a major vehicular access for visitors. The yellow part is our underground road. Basically, all vehicles will make use of the underground road in WKCD, and it can link up to another very big underground car park. Different accesses can reach the car park. All loading and unloading activities will be done at the yellow layer, which is the underground road. I think you might have seen this picture a number of times. This is our concept. Pedestrian access on top and vehicular traffic underground and drop-off zone here. People can reach the ground level by means of escalators after drop-off. So this is the basic concept, that is segregation of pedestrians and vehicles. We've done a traffic impact assessment for our proposed increased development density. Even with an increase of 10% traffic, the road networks will still be able to cope with the additional traffic. And during construction, that will be after 2017. The underground road will be, or the basement will be constructed there. By then, most of the roads are completed. Theoretically speaking, the capacity of junctions will be bigger, so the impact will be minimal. Another concern to the public is links for pedestrians. Honestly, is not very, our place is not very accessible now because of the road works, and it's not easy to reach our site. And this is the elements. There is a pedestrian footbridge. Still, it is not a very direct link. So the current situation is not desirable. We are carrying out design and improvement works, and the future situation will be very different. Starting from the C3 Center, Austin Station here, we will have a pedestrian subway for direct access to the basement of the C3 Center. So from Austin Station to C3 Center, in future it will be very convenient. And for people who would like to go to Canton Road, they can also make use of this pedestrian subway to the piazza of C3 Center and to Canton Road. So the link to Canton Road is very direct. And here is the China Ferry Terminal. We will have a pedestrian footbridge going directly to the shopping mall of CFT, and then people can reach the waterfront promenade here. So from Kowloon Park to CFT, it will be very easy to reach WKCD. In the long term, we would like to build a pedestrian footbridge to link this part with Kowloon Park directly, so that there can be direct access from the waterfront promenade to the Kowloon Park. Another major development is there will be a big pedestrian deck linking WKT and WKCD. So both levels are about 8 or 9. So it will be very convenient to walk from WKT to WKCD. There will be no conflict between vehicles and pedestrians. And the people can walk from the elements to this big deck. And there will also be a new pedestrian footbridge from Elements to our Artist Square. The footbridge is very wide. And given the hot weather in the summer, we like to provide air conditioning. Usually, government pedestrian footbridges are not air-conned, and if necessary, we're going to provide it here. It will be very similar to the footbridge between Queensway and also Pacific Place. This is an existing footbridge. The link here is not very good and great. After landing, we will see how we can improve the linkage between this one and the future pedestrian system. Once the mega performance venue is completed, we may have to build another footbridge that links up with the Kowloon station for crowd dispersal. For all MTRCL stations, although there is no station directly under or within WKCD, there are a few big stations nearby. So the place is easily accessible with public transport, and the red spots are the existing or proposed bus stops, and we hope to have e-buses running underground with stops within the district. So for all these pedestrian facilities, after completion of the project in 2031, assuming that 8% of the performance venues are taken up or fully seated, we are of the view that within 30 minutes all the visitors can be dispersed. And I'd like to talk about car parking spaces. As we have shared with many sectors, the district is quite close to MTR stations, and according to government guidelines, we may have to provide over 3,000 car parking spaces here. But because it's close to MTR stations, we can have a 50% discount in the number of car parking spaces, and we have to take into account the nature of the district. There will be both offices and performing venues, and daytime the offices are in use, and nighttime it will be the peak for performance venues. So there is synergy between the two kinds of users.
So some of the parking spaces will be earmarked for office use during daytime, and then they will be for the performing venues in the evening, and then we'll have a higher utilization rate, and we can make good use of the facilities. For such concepts, it means that we can further reduce the number of parking spaces. Instead of 3,000 or more, we can cope with 2,000, so we can reduce the number of parking spaces. As to whether this number is adequate, we believe that it will be adequate. But will it be excessive? I don't think so. This is because for the major shopping malls nearby, and then for the Kowloon station, 5,000, and for Harbour City, 2,000. But then taking into account that we're talking about 40 hectares of land, so the current level of parking spaces would be reasonable. And then at the last meeting, you talked about the coaches. Within the district, we are going to provide more than 40 parking spaces for the coaches to park and drop off. So they will mainly be focused here, with 26 here. With the completion of the basement, then they will be available for use. We anticipate that the coaches can travel along this line to drop off the passengers for picking up, maybe for temporary stopping. They can make use of the 26 spaces. And then for the major performing venues, another a dozen or so. So for the coach parking and pick-up drop-off facilities, the number won't be small. And before this part is completed, we know that maybe at the park or roundabout here, we can make available temporary parking and pick-up facilities. We can then address the short-term problem, and then we can also look at the actual demand, because after all, at this moment, we are only making an assessment. So in the future, we can look at the operational details, and then that can assist us in the further designment, and that means that the number can be adjusted either upwards or downwards. We believe that the traffic generated in relation to coaches will not spill over to other districts. Now, other than what we have planned, as I have told you just now, the authority will also draw up a traffic operation plan, covers quite a large number of issues. First of all, for the phase 1 or batch 1 facilities, for batch 1 facilities, even before they are completed, we have already got a very detailed plan. E-bus planning and operation plan, and also rationalization of buses from outside the district. And then we have the environmentally friendly transport system option study and feasibility, car parking management plan. As I have said, we have a large basement for car parking, so we have to assist the drivers to get back to their cars easily. And then at the time that a performance is ended, quite a large number of people will be looking for their cars, going back to their cars, and we have to manage it well. And then the loading and unloading facilities management plan, and then the cycling provision. There will be cycling for the park, but what about the promenade? And then for the smart bike system, is there room for improvement? And if the cyclists would like to bring their own bicycles, how are they going to be managed? All such have to be issued. And then the berthing and landing facilities for vessels, traffic control and operation, crowd dispersal, etc. And emergency traffic management, of course. That's all I want to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Others from your team, would they like to supplement? If not, then I think we can allow the deputations individuals to ask questions. You may have 3 minutes each to address us or ask questions. If you don't have time to finish within 3 minutes, you may also provide us with a copy of your written submission. Now, just a word about the devices you have. You have a earpiece. You can tune in for the interpretation service, channel 0 floor, channel 1 Cantonese, channel 2 English, channel 3 Putonghua. Please speak into the mic in front of you. To facilitate the simultaneous interpreters, try to stick to one language at any one time. And then just to remind you that when you speak, you are not covered by the LC Powers and Privileges Ordinance in relation to the safeguards and exemptions. For the submissions that you have provided, again, they are not covered by the LC Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And then for anybody attending our meeting and for anybody staying in the public gallery, you need to follow the rules and a copy has already been attached to the letter sent to you for members of the public in the public gallery. And you may also approach the security staff for the things to note. First of all, 3 minutes each to listen to your views. First of all, Mr. Yun Hoi Man from the Democratic Party. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the paper submitted by the WKCDA to this joint committee, mentions made that the rail can be made use of so that people can alight at Kowloon Station, XRL Station, and Austin Station, or you may take a bus or minibus to come from Austin Road or WHC. So it's a matter of facilitating the access to the WKCD. But what about the WKCD's connection and connectivity with Yau Chim Mong? We want to know more about the connectivity and the integration with the surrounding districts. Now, the facilities will be completed in batches, so there will be difficulties. In other words, members of the public may have to walk through the construction sites before they can reach some of the facilities of the WKCD, because the facilities will be completed in batches. I think it's important to note the safety and the comfortability, comfortable facilities. But I'm afraid currently you have to make use of very long and winding routes. This will discourage people from going there. So you need to be careful about the design. And I don't think you should just set your eyes on the accessibility of the mass transit systems. You need to provide a very convenient pedestrian environment as well. For CG Center, you can come from Austin Road Station, and you can also have footbridges to facilitate visitors coming over from Kowloon Park. But I think the pedestrian access should be made comfortable. The WKCD is very close to Yau Chim Mong, so the authority must give first priority to facilitating the access of the Yau Chim Mong residents, so that they find it easy to go there, just like the visitors and the tourists. Lastly, the DP thinks that the WKCD should be sort of integrated with the culture as well as the shopping habits of the neighbouring districts, so that we can join up the local community economy and the tourism spots. And we should provide for pedestrian lanes and the cycling paths. And the access should be direct. It shouldn't be too indirect. Otherwise, the WKCD would only become a high-grade architectural landmark by reclamation. We want it to be something accessible. Next, Mr. Derek Hong, member of the Yau Chim Mong District Council. I'm a member of the constituency. I'm also on the consultation panel, and I'm also a property owner of a property nearby. The Yau Chim Mong District Council set up a working group in relation to WKCD. Even at our first meeting, I joined the site visit so as to look at the connectivity and the integration. We discussed the matter even at the first meeting. And since then, the WKCDA and the District Council have had meetings and discussion about the pedestrian networks. And we've also kept the Kowloon Station property owners as well as the nearby residents of the latest progress. In relation to the topic before us today, I have the following points to make. For China Ferry Terminal, and for Kowloon Park, for them to be connected with WKCD, you have to walk through the Kowloon Park as well as the fire station. As to your latest progress, I want to know whether it is finalized or whether there will be a longer-term plan in the light of the final relocation of the fire station. And then for the link from WKCD to the elements, now the XRL project is being delayed, so I want to know whether that footbridge system would be affected. And thirdly, for WKCD, I understand that for Kowloon Station and Austin Station, the District Council has suggested that there should be a connection, and then there should be a footbridge in Bowring Street. So I want to know whether the idea has been adopted and what's the progress. And then for the WHC, I know that there is a mega performance venue nearby. When the performance ends, I think there would only be a complementary link there. But I think it's better for you to have an underpass or a tunnel so as to connect directly with Route 3. And then for Austin Road and Austin Road West, as to their connection with Canton Road, I think at first it was an underpass. Now you have changed the plan. I think as a result of the restrictions in Austin Road, I think you need to take a serious look of the traffic assessment. And lastly, for WKCD, I think the facilities will be completed in batches. For the vehicular and pedestrian traffic assessments, you have to look at them in phases. Next, Hong Kong Cycling Alliance. The WKCD is a world-class facility, so we need to have world-class mentality. Just now we've been told about the difficulties. We've been told that there will be congestion. The Cycling Alliance would like to suggest cycling as a solution. In particular, we've been told about the junctions as well as the technical problems. Well, all around the world, many urban problems can be resolved by cycling. Now, you have a lot of vehicular traffic outside the district. So why don't we have the smart bike being extended so that the bikes can be connected with the MTR stations as well as other public transport facilities, so that the public don't have to drive to WKCD. In other words, they can take the, say for example, MTR, and then they can take the bike so that at a very low cost they can cycle all the way to WKCD. In this way, we can solve many problems, and then we can reduce the number of vehicles traveling to WKCD. For the views collected by WKCD, I think the public have high hopes. We very much hope that there will be cycling facilities. I am glad to see that you are now trying the smart bike program for a journey measuring between 2 and 4 km. Going to Tsim Sha Tsui, Austin Road Station and the elements is too much of a walk. It's too short a journey for buses or others. So the cycling would be the best solution. Just now you talked about pedestrian lanes and footbridges, etc. There's already a lot at grade. For pedestrians, they have to walk on the footbridges. I just wonder whether along the footbridges you can also add some cycling tracks. I think that it will be wide enough to accommodate both pedestrians as well as the cyclists. The bicycles are somewhere between pedestrians and vehicles. We can travel at a faster speed or lower speed as we choose, and we can be accommodated together with the pedestrians at the same time in the same environment. In fact, this is the worldwide experience. So I just wonder if we can try it on WKCD. For the Forster concept, it is also an emphasis on sustainability. So I hope that this theme can be developed. And then along the promenade, if the bicycles are also allowed there, then it will be a very good, it will be a world-class attraction as well as the Victoria Harbour.
Next, Mr. Matthias Wu from Zuni. Thank you. As Mr. Lynch said, WKCD is about sustainability, but judging from the presentation we had just now, I think they've used vehicles as the basis of calculation instead of visitors or people. So I doubt whether this is really sustainable planning. And I agree with the deputation from the Hong Kong Cycling Alliance. Many advanced cities such as London are promoting the use of bikes. WKCD is a very advanced development. They have almost 2,000 car parking spaces. They've used the government standards, and this is rather backward. On a number of occasions, when they consulted the public, people asked for the use of bikes, and I think they are still planning from the perspective of vehicles and not people. Now, for connectivity, we should not just consider the hardware, but the software as well. Well, as mentioned by another deputation, there are many old districts nearby with their own characteristics. The food and beverage facilities and offices, we don't know about the allocation of space among these users. And what about the way of marketing for PMQ? All the menus are in English. If you don't know English, you can't visit PMQ. And the prices are so high that they are unaffordable to ordinary members of the public. It costs you about over $40 per drink. So what about WKCD? It is going to take up a lot of space, and if we don't know how the space is used, well, even if there is connectivity, people won't go there because things are too expensive. It may become another Lan Kwai Fong. Well, there may be merits to that, but at least you should let us know beforehand. And next to WKCD, there is water body. So for the briefing, we have just heard about vehicles. What about ferry services? We've written to WKCD to ask them to consider the possibility of cooperating with Star Ferry to provide water transport. As we can see, there is water surrounding WKCD. How should we make use of the water there to make this place more dynamic, vibrant, and special? In a few exchange meetings, the consultants like to talk about government standards. Now, if we are following government standards only, there is no need to employ consultants. Just ask the government to do it. I think the WKCD should clarify with the government under what circumstances should the standards be followed. Mr. Zimmerman.
The project was discussed in LegCo. We spent a lot of time studying the traffic impact assessments and the traffic studies that we've done, and we proposed that the express rail would stop in the new territories. Now that the decision is made that it stops here, and we have the West Kowloon Cultural District and we have all the other activities, please support the basement project. We need this. It's a necessity. It's a consequence of previous decision. It's the best solution that we have in front of us. I also put in mind that we need those parking facilities, and rather here than in Tsim Sha Tsui elsewhere. We have a cross-border capacity of 220,000 trips a day coming ahead. We only have 40,000 trips today a day. That growth of trips is going to bring in a lot of new cars from across the border. We've got to provide parking facilities, park and ride. If I can show you one issue, if the slides from the consultant regarding traffic is kept below ground can be put on the screen. I urge you to make sure we don't go cheap either. This could look like heaven and hell. Every PTI looks like hell below a beautiful environment. Let's make sure that the Highways Department doesn't turn this into hell below heaven above. So let's make sure we don't go cheap, and let's get proper design and proper lighting and proper ventilation for this entire area. It's very important. Chairman, I'd like to make another point that is, I think, more important, and it's been highlighted by the first three speakers, the two district councillors and the cycling group. We really need an overall plan for the area. And if I can have the slides which shows the planned road network from the consultant up. The planned road network, the previous one with the red one markings, the big red markings on it. The planned road network that is coming up for this area doesn't show you very well. That shows best. These red roads plus all the grey roads are basically segregating the entire district. You cannot cross these roads. They are massively wide infrastructure. You cannot cross them. So some of them will be elevated crossings, other ones will be having underground crossings. What we need is an overall plan for the district, showing you exactly how I can walk. Am I going to be forced to go up and then down and then back on ground level and then below ground and then back up to upper level? Because that is what you're going to get unless we see an overall plan of every project. The Express Rail Station, the Austin Station, West Kowloon Cultural District, all of them. And all the planned links from the Highways Department, all of them combined in one map, showing at every layer below ground, at grade and above grade, how it connects. Where can I go up and down? How can people circulate? If you do not study that and if you don't look at that, this will be a mess and this will be very difficult to navigate, especially for people with disabilities. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. And next is Ms. Kitos.
Thank you, Chair. What is the value of culture for Hong Kong, I ask? And most importantly, what is considered culture here? And I ask that for the simple reason because I believe the whole premise of the government on the West Kowloon Cultural District definition lays on the premise that culture is just confined to some arts. And if there is a real concern with the so-called cultural venues, there will already be more focus on the existing museums and cultural venues. The government is spending an awful lot with an almost 20-year-old project to transform the West Kowloon District. But the 400,000 square meters could become a 200 billion revenue for the government if they lease the land for private investors. And this revenue could be used for the public housing system or other most important investments for the people of Hong Kong. Now, after many public hearings on this almost 20 years, the project haven't gotten so far, and this huge area in West Kowloon is being wasted, so as the time of people of Hong Kong who have been active in those meetings and hearings about the project. If the lands were privatized, people would be able to enjoy this area, and the project would occur faster, connecting the areas with the neighboring areas and also maximizing the benefits for the people of Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. 我哋而家進入咧就
Thank you. Now, a Q&A session. Each member can have 4 minutes, including questions and answers. Chen Yuen Han, Helena Wong, and Emily Lau, and Deputy Chairman. First, Madam Chen Yuen Han. Thank you. I'm afraid I won't have enough time to do all. I'm very pleased to see that Mrs. Lee is here. I hope Mrs. Lee have a better idea of what's happening in the community. I have some reservations for her predecessor, Mr. Lam. So I have arguments and also agreements or cooperation with Mrs. Lee. I'm pleased that she's not posted here. I tend to agree with Mr. Matthias Wu and Mr. Paul Zimmerman. Now, this is such a beautiful place with 4 hectares. Now, assuming that in future it will be really beautiful, how are people going to access the place? Of course, I've heard from the Yau Chi Mong District Councillor that they're very concerned about connectivity with Austin Road. But what should be the overall planning? Now, if everything is put underground, how can we make sure that we can get what we want? I agree with Mr. Zimmerman. How can we ensure that there is barrier-free access for everyone so that you don't have to go up, go down, go up, and go down again? Because Mr. Lam from WKCT met with myself and some friends. I have reservations about this different levels of development and also the number of parking spaces. Do you need so many? We have the transport department here. Do we need so many parking spaces here? Please answer me. How many parking spaces does the elements have for the public, and how many here for the public? there are residential units in the elements, but here I don't think there are as many. So why do we need so many car parking spaces? And I said to Mr. Lam last time, there is only one access into the car park. How are you going to design? Warren's lecturer in architecture from CU Hong Kong is also concerned about this project. How can you ensure that people can have convenient accessibility given the many different levels here? And how can you avoid traffic jam underground in the future? Answer. Can you respond first? Anyone from the team, from the TD? Or? Thank you. I'll take the question on number of parking spaces. I haven't got the information from the elements. Ask Mr. Lam. Mr. Lam knows. Then the Transport Department has been derelict in its duty. Mr. Lam. All right. Let me supplement. In my presentation, I briefly mentioned that there are a few big districts nearby. I can share with you information. Harbour City, 2,380. Kowloon Station, for residential units, offices, and retail, hotels altogether, they're about 5,400. The KWKT, there are retail and office facilities. There are 550 spaces, including the 400 for the station. There are about 900. For us, we have 22 to 2,500. Please go on. And you may also compare the plot ratio of these places. Harbour City, of course, we'll talk about different types of land use. So, however, the plot ratio can be for reference. Harbour City has got about 460,000 square meters, mainly for retail, and for Kowloon's. All right. Anyway, so you believe that the number of spaces is about right, but there is only one access. How are you going to manage if the access is blocked? Then the queue will be long. Now, in this slide, we've shown all the accesses and also our design. As Madam Chen said, of course, the main access is at Ling Cheng Road. That is the access and underground. In fact, we have two. There can be access to the car park both from the flyover and from underground. What about pedestrians having to go up and down? All right. The car is parked underground and the driver or passengers have to go up.
Please look at this photo. Along the yellow lines, they are lay-bys, so the people can be dropped off or picked up. After dropping off, picking up and dropping off, you can take the escalator or lift to go up to the ground level. Helena Wong, about the parking spaces, I think we need them. This is with cars. Please don't try to look for the parking spaces at the properties above Kowloon Station or the elements, because all the parking spaces are already taken up, so don't rely on them. For Kowloon Station, again, during weekends, the parking spaces are almost all taken up. And then even for Harborside, you can see that there is traffic jam for vehicles waiting to get a parking slot. So those facilities aren't for the WKCD. So you need to look at the traffic generated by the office etc., to arrive at the number of parking spaces needed. And coaches, again, we need the parking spaces. There will be schools taking their students by coaches to the WKCD for performances. And in fact, I worry about the number of parking spaces. If you haven't got sufficient parking spaces, then it will cause a tailing back, and then you can't even leave your car unattended. And then for Austin Road, that is from Canton Road, left turn into Austin Road, is always congested. Now, question for the TD: do you have anything concrete? Can you tell us what measure will be adopted so that for Canton Road, left turn into Austin Road, whether you can resolve the problem in the short term, because it is always congested currently? From this plan, you can see that it would be 2020 or even 2031. Then we can turn the red lines into green lines. I think you call it the reserved capacity, right? Do you really have to wait till 2020 before we can see a solution? So that's a question for the TD. And then for the Central Kowloon route, it is expected to complete in 2021. But government projects nowadays are usually suffering from a delay. So if you can't complete it in 2021, so for the mini WKCD, I think in 2018 or 2019 you have M+, and then 2017, end of 2017 or beginning of 2018, the express rail will be commissioned. So there is a gap of a few years. So for 8th grade congestion, TD, are you saying that there's no solution, or can you tell us what mitigatory measures there will be? Who will take up the questions? Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Austin Road, Canton Road. Austin Road, Canton Road Junction. The Highways Department has already proposed to secure funding from the Legislative to carry out this project, that is widening junction of Jordan Road, Austin Road, so as to improve the junction capacity. The PWC is going to deal with that proposal. For the Central Kowloon route for WKCD as well as West Kowloon as a whole, Mr. Lam has already said that for vehicles to reach or to leave WKCD directly and quickly, we have to rely on the lines painted red, like Lin Chuan Road going directly to WK Highway. And then the Highways Department have also got a number of measures. Say at Hoi Po Road, there will be a road to take vehicles northwest to go from WKCD to WK Highway or to go to Archon Road. So for the vehicles in WKCD, in this way, vehicles can leave or can come in quickly and directly. For the Central Kowloon route, it is going to play a very important role for the east-west journeys. Even before the completion of the CKR, since we have got those red lines shown here, and with the improvement measures to be carried out by the Highways Department, we believe that we can facilitate the WKCD. And the TIA of the WKCD itself, which we have seen recently, it talks about the different stages, and then how the road network improvement can address the problems. Thank you. Next, Emily Lau. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that when we talk about the road network, it is important to bear in mind the timing of completion. Of course, we are told that the funding proposals are lining up for LegCo's approval. But for the road network to be improved and for the roads to be completed, whether they can be carried out in time, we are really worried. But of course, the WKCD facilities themselves may not be delivered in time. If they can, then we're worried about the road network improvements. What about the WKCD? WKCDA, what is your sort of... Now, you please tell us when you expect the road network to be improved. So do you have communication? Do you have dialogue? Otherwise, there will be traffic jams. So can somebody from WKCDA tell us, Mr. Lynch? Well, the one behind?
Constant dialogue with Transport, Highways and all of the other government agencies. We now have a task force working on the coordination of all of those issues. I guess my personal view about the roads would be that if we could resolve the issue of some of the infrastructure decisions, then we'd be able to move forward on how we might be able to best integrate the first stages of the project, the park project and the first venues with the surrounding areas. Clearly the XRL is an important part of delivery of many of the
Thank you very much, Mr. Lynch. I think.
Thank you.
好啊，陳博士你補充啦。
葉文晶，我補充一聲，頭先你問一問咧，我哋嗰個建築。
Just now, you talked about how our construction program can tie in with the traffic management measures. The park and the CG Center will be completed in the first batch, 2017 for the CG, and then the M Plus 2018-2019. So we have got them ready in 2016, 17, 18, 19 sort of. As to how they tie in with the traffic measures, if they can be completed in time, of course it will be best. For CG Center, there will be a tunnel going to Austin Station. We hope that that will be delivered at the same time as our project. I think when they come to our meetings, they have to give us papers so as to tell us about the completion dates of their own facilities. But at the same time, please also tell us whether the road network projects are also echoing their progress. Of course, we won't ask anybody to stop anything, but then if the projects cannot be completed in time, then there will be a big problem. I hope government departments will do their best, everybody will do their best. So both should tell us in parallel, that is, tell us about the progress of the facilities and tell us about the progress of the road network. WKCDA, anything you want the LegCo to do to help you to facilitate your work? Mr. Lynch? Or would it be for HAB? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, for this district, other than WKCDA's infrastructural projects, well, in fact, for the Highways Department, among other government departments, they are queuing up to upgrade a project, 855TH. This is for junction improvement and also for West Kowloon Highway. We need some additional slip roads. And then there are also projects to be taken up by the MTRCL. As of now, we believe that the timetables do tally and they can match, they can have good interface. So when you are asked to deal with any WKCD related projects, please help us. In response to Ms. Lang's suggestion, so I hope that you will do the following. Mrs. Lee, I think you will coordinate. That is, please give us a schedule for the WKCD facilities, as well as a schedule for the road network and traffic projects, so that we have both in hand. I think that's what Ms. Lau has suggested, so that we have both timetables, both schedules to enable us to check one against the other. Next, Mr. Alan Leung, Deputy Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm afraid that when we are here to deal with the WKCD and its connection and integration with the neighbouring districts, I'm afraid the approach that we've adopted isn't right. For integration and connectivity, I think it is important so that the WKCD is a place for the people. Now, what I want to share with you is as follows, and I would like to draw your attention to the issues that I've identified. For us to turn the WKCD into an area where people would like to go there to spend their time leisurely, for them to regard WKCD as a place that they always want to go, to sit down, to walk along. It is important because we hope that WKCD can be a place where we can enhance the cultural and artistic quality of our population. So they should be attracted to go there to feel the ambience. And then for the artists, again, they need a platform to come into contact with the clients, the customers, and the audience. So we need a platform, and therefore your work is very important. You need to make sure that WKCD is a place for the people and how it can succeed. Now, integration is important because we want the older districts can prosper together with the WKCD. In other words, you can't operate on your own. You can't be satisfied with flourishing on your own. But once you step outside of your district, you move into a very old and underdeveloped district. We have this idea because in the year 2004, we went to visit Wilwao, and then you can understand what's behind my suggestion. They did it very well. They revitalized the older area. On the one hand, the artists don't have to pay for the expensive rent to, say, rent a place in WKCD, to have the studio, to have the gallery. The concept is like Fortan in Sha Tin. For Sham Shui Po, Yao Chun Mong, we have got the buildings, we have got the space. And so if you have the idea of co-flourishing, then it will be good. Therefore, I hope that when you look at the pedestrian flow, when you look at the vehicular flow, when you talk about integration and connectivity, don't make it into something which is just business-like. I think you need to realize the concepts that I referred to.
And now I come to my question. What Mr. Postman said was excellent. Can you give us a diagram showing the different levels, underground, at grade, and above or overhead? How are you going to, what will be the pedestrian and vehicular flow at these three levels, together with a schedule requested by Ms. Emily Lau? And also ferry service. This is worth considering. At first, Taiku or Swire gave you a proposal with ferry services. So they may not have time for my questions, to answer my questions. Perhaps I'll wait in the second round. Okay. All right, give us the schedule. Will we end at noon? There's an excellent question. We have to end by 10:30, so if you don't mind, I extend it by 15 minutes. Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. I'm a member of the WKCD authority. In fact, the authority hasn't got a lot of time, or the board hasn't got a lot of time to discuss the traffic arrangements. In fact, I am concerned about this subject. I think many deputations have a point, and I also share Mr. Zimmerman's concern, but since a member followed up on that already, I will not repeat. Another concern is parking spaces. It's important that there is good accessibility and connectivity for pedestrians, but what about vehicles? Mr. Lam said that there will be lay-bys for coaches. I've just consulted a representative from the tourism industry, Mr. Yu Siwing. We have so many tours, 400 tours per day, or 500 tours per day to Hong Kong from across the boundary, assuming that this is a must-see place. Now, if each tour group stays for 3 hours, on average, there will be 150 coaches dropping off and picking up passengers here, or even waiting. So the number of lay-bys you mentioned won't be enough. In Hong Kong, there is no room for coaches to park. In other countries and important tourist nodes, they have coach parking areas, and coaches would only go to pick up passengers when necessary. I don't think that this has been factored in, and there will also be school buses and coaches for school children and buses for community groups. There will also be heavy vehicular traffic for the WKT. So this is not just about WKCD. How does TD view this question? At any moment, there can be 100 coaches in this area, and each coach would require at least 5 minutes for picking up or dropping off passengers. If they don't have place to park, this is a serious problem. If there is double parking by one coach, the whole road can be paralyzed. And barrier-free access. I suggest that when the WKCDA plans the area, please offer ramps rather than staircases. Try to we'll not just talk about a wheelchair. Now, for elderly persons, it's inconvenient for them to walk upstairs. Thank you. TD? Mr. Lam? Mr. Lam? All right. All right, I'll respond to some of the questions. First, barrier-free access mentioned by Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. The whole of WKCD will be designed on a barrier-free access concept. When C2 Center was designed, we invited organizations to consider the design with us from a user's point of view to see whether the design has to be improved. So we do take into account access-free barrier, a barrier-free access for the whole place. And for coaches, yes, what Mr. Ma said was correct. We expect that there will be a great demand for coach parking spaces or lay-bys. We are going to provide 40 odd. Now, compared with the peak, there are 20. Golden Bohemia Plaza 9. We have many more lay-bys than these facilities. Now, because WKCD is new and it's difficult for us to have a very firm idea of demand. So at the park, just off the park, there will be a big area for coaches to stay, and we can monitor the demand. And as we further design the facilities, we can put demand into account. Mr. Yu Siwing, I'd like to follow on the point of coaches. You should not just single out the need for coach labours for WKCD, because we will have cross-boundary passengers from WTK. They need coaches to pick up or drop off as well. You may think that for WKCD alone it is okay, but if we widen the scope to cover the whole area, I think this is a problem. Mr. or Madam Cheng Yun-han is correct. We should take into account the total number of parking spaces for small vehicles and coaches, and we also need to note the flow, because in Tsim Sha Tsui East, because there is not enough space for coaches to park, they have to run around the roads. Because if coaches have to run around looking for spaces to park, it will affect the environment. So at Kowloon Station, people can walk to WKCD and walk back. You must improve connectivity within the WKCD. For instance, there can be e-bus and there can be bikes, or so that if there is not enough laybys for coaches, they can drop off passengers a little bit further away, and then passengers can make use of, say, e-bus and bikes to reach WKCD. We have to make sure that traffic and transport of the whole area will not be affected. So do not just single out WKCD. TD, thank you. In 2009, the TD did a traffic and transport study for the whole area. We covered the flow of coaches in our study as well. And for individual projects, we also require a separate study. We have an overall study covering the WKT, the Austin Station and Kowloon Station, and for individual projects, individual stations, they also have their own traffic study. So for WKT, they have facilities for coaches planned for. And of course, the government will closely monitor the situation in the whole area when it comes to the development in individual items. I think Mr. Yu is asking you whether there can be a dynamic use of small vehicle and coaches laybys. Now, or even car parking spaces. Well, you have designed 2,000 odd car parking spaces in WKCD. Now, if they are not fully taken up by small vehicles, can coaches use them? If yes, can coaches easily access the underground road? I think for the parking of small vehicles, the and the other colleague have talked about that, and those spaces are mainly for arts and cultural facilities, RD and HOL. We have to reserve sufficient car parking spaces for different users according to our forecast. Now, I'd like to know the number of coach laybys and parking spaces for the major projects I just mentioned. Can the government give us supplementary information later? I don't think they have really heard your concern. I'm also concerned about the number of parking spaces. If there aren't enough spaces, vehicles will be moving around on road space. And as Dr. Hanana Wong said, you don't rely on the elements. If you want to go to the movie there, and if you drive there, you won't be able to make it to the movie on time because you have to wait very long for a parking space. And from Muchong Street, right turn, there is a serious jam because the phasing is not compatible with Nathan Road. So from John Road to Wuchong Street, there is a serious jam at DGS. This always happens at weekends. I know the place well. If you don't know, you are welcome to discuss with me. And I'm also very concerned about the coach space. There are only 36 planned. If there aren't enough spaces, then coaches will be moving around, causing serious congestion. Please see whether there is room for more coaches. And I am also concerned about the issue raised by Mr. Zimmerman to ensure the visitors don't have to go up and down many times. It is important that people can get to the place they want easily. Now, this is a big basement. I'm concerned about the temperature and also the air quality in future. Mr. Leung. First, the number of parking spaces in WKCD. They have submitted a proposal to increase the development density. And as Mr. Lam said, there will be 2,000 parking spaces provided for use by the WKCD. And they've already incorporated the idea of shared use. Daytime, there's parking spaces for offices, nighttime for the private. And we have a set of indicators or standards for calculating the number of parking spaces we need, and we believe it will be sufficient. And as for the old area of Umchong Street, well, traffic from Austin Road is really not smooth. As I said, the situation is not desirable at Austin Road, but because of constraints, we cannot widen the road at this moment. We will adjust the traffic signal phasing, and the TD will meet with Mr. Lee to discuss this again. And Mr. Zimmerman talked about the arrangements for pedestrians. Now, I think there was a briefing. There was just a briefing on connection between, say, WKT and the WKCD. There will be a landscape deck to Kowloon Park and to different places. So north-south direction, we have a major pedestrian corridor. Or for underground, it is mainly for vehicles. So pedestrians will not use the underground space for traveling to different places, with the exception of from Austin Road to Seatree Center. And once you are in WKT, the area is very accessible.
Mr. Chairman, I've got two questions. I'm concerned about the rail users. like how they're going to approach different facilities. Like in the case of Tsim Sha Tsui Station and Tsim Sha Tsui East Station, we've got escalators taking the citizens and visitors to different places. For Austin Station and Kowloon Station, I think for the Kowloon Station, we've already got the properties up above. So I want to know whether you can provide escalators. And then in this way, we can avoid taking the pedestrians to the ground level. I'm grateful to have the deputations here. Mr. Wu talked about the marine access. This is good. The Victoria Harbour and the WKCD should be planned together. In London and Paris, they have the rivers, and then for New York, they have also got the water transport to take the visitors to the Statue of Liberty. So why can't we do the same to make good use of the marine access? Now for the main avenue, I think you have got two spots where you have the jetties or the piers. So I hope the WKCDA can also tell us whether the marine access has been ruled out. Is it because there are unsurmountable constraints? So WKCDA, are you going to provide for marine access? Yes, allow me to answer. For WKCDA, we very much want to have the water transport. We share your views. Mr. Mavis Wu has said that we should talk to the relevant operators. We have started the negotiation as to the mode of operation. We are still discussing the matter. For a public pier, I don't think we have got sufficient traffic. But then water taxi can be an idea that can be explored as to how the pier may have an impact on the reclamation. Well, we can have a floating pontoon, and then we don't need to have reclamation to build a pier. And then for the underground connection, how the underground can be connected with a few MTR stations. Of course, at City Centre, we're lucky that we can go directly from the MTR station to the City Centre. And then for Kowloon Station, it has already been built before us, so there are already many piles underground that would pose some difficulties. And probably we need to rely on footbridges. And in the middle part, you can have at-grade crossing. And then at the XRL, some of them are right into our facilities. So as to whether there will be direct connections, that can be easily done for the West Kowloon terminus. Just now, Dr. Chen has given a very good account for Kowloon Station. If you look at underground connections, well, for Austin Road West, there will be an underpass. So it means that that would reduce the likelihood of having underground connection for pedestrians. And then we have got two footbridges, and then they are useful for connecting up with Kowloon Station. And then we have a square, and then that can facilitate the pedestrian flow. Next, Tony Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We talk about the integration and connectivity with the neighbouring districts. Connectivity. Well, from the papers before us, we can see that for the reclamation, I think we have got a lot of space. The traffic lanes are wide, but then we're disappointed about the connection with the older districts. For Austin Road, I think the impression given from the answer is that it is beyond salvation. So it appears that the bottlenecks will spill over to Jordan, Mong Kok, Tsim Sha Tsui, the older districts. But I don't think this is the right approach, just saying that you can't help, because this means that the neighbouring residents will suffer. If I may also follow up on one point, you also talk about integration in your paper, but it seems that you haven't devoted a lot of space to integration. So either the government department or the WKCDA can elaborate on integration. How are you going to carry out the integration? Do you have any specific targets? So we are worried that the neighbouring districts will only suffer from WKCD facilities but not benefit from them. So WKCD? Who would like to take the answer? Question, Mr. Lynch, or if I may try to answer the question. For Mr. Chair's question about integration, I think just now many people have said that it is more than connectivity. We need to have the cultural connectivity. There is cultural integration as well. Jordan, Yaumate are very close to us. They're within walking distance. We've also got cultural programs, which are joint programs with them. M+ staff members have already worked with Jordan, Yaumate in relation to the cultural programs. In the future, as to whether we can have programming together with them, I think that can be looked into. For direct access, I think it's a matter of transport. And we've talked to them, and we'll also work together with the TD, so that either they walk to us or to reach WKCD, or they can drive their cars. We are looking at e-buses. In this way, we can bring people from the older districts, and we can add to the pedestrian flow. What about the TD? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your question. I've already said this once or twice. That is for the traffic study carried out by the TD earlier on. We aren't just talking about the red lines and the major thoroughfares. We also include junction improvements. Along Canton Road, there are 3 junctions: Canton Road, Austin Road, and also Canton Road, Jordan Road. So we have got a number of junction improvements, and some of the widening works have been completed. And then 2 more projects will be carried out. That is Jordan Road, Nathan Road junction. We have to deal with that as well. If I remember it correctly, for Nathan Road, Waterloo Road junction, again, it will be done. For Austin Road, Nathan Road, for that junction, well, there are such constraints, so it will be difficult to carry out some civil engineering works. We'll try to see if we can have something by way of traffic management, and we have to address the problem of pedestrian and vehicular conflict. All right, any more questions during the first round? If not, that's it for the first round. And then second round, 4 members, Chen Yunhan, Elena Wong, Alan Leung, and Emily Lau. Who else would like to ask questions in the second round? If not, I draw a line. So for the rest of the time, then I will give the floor to the deputations. So we would like to extend our meeting time to 11 a.m. And that's one. 2 minutes each. Ms. Chen Yunhan. My 3 questions haven't been answered. Now, for the parking spaces of the elements, they've got a large number of parking spaces, and yet it's always full. $180 for 4 hours. It's where it has attracted a lot of users. You can't really find a parking space during weekends. You have to bear this point in mind before you can come up with an accurate demand for parking spaces on WKCD. And what about the idea of making this car free because it's already so congested in the surrounding areas. I think you must be accurate about the assessment, and then you explore the idea of a car-free environment. So for Paul Zimmerman's idea, I think it isn't just a matter of through traffic. I think it's better for us to rely on walking. For the elements, yes, there are inherent constraints. I think it's better to facilitate a walking environment. If you can walk easily, then we can reduce the vehicular demand. But if you talk about having to go up and down all the time, then it is not acceptable. You have got vehicular traffic underground. Now, if Mrs. Lee is interested, I can have a further word with you. For energizing East Kowloon, we have a similar idea. Don't just rely on making people going up and down at different levels. And then for the marine access, I would like to take up the matter with Mr. Chen. Don't just say that you would like to consider it. Now, I don't want to explore the idea many years later when everything is completed. It's better to start doing it now. You don't need to answer my questions. I think you need to think more about it, but I'm afraid you haven't answered my questions. Your point is noted. Dr. Helena Wong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I hope that there can be more specific proposals concerning the marine access. And then for CG Center and Austin Road Station, I want to know whether there is any at-grade crossing for pedestrians, or must we use the subway and the footbridges? Yes, please. Well, for the CG Center, it is to the south of Austin Road, and the station is to the north. So if you look at the XRL project, you would know that for Austin Road, it will be submerged after Austin Road, so there won't be any at-grade connection. We have to rely on underground connection. For the above ground, we have the landscape deck, and in fact it is a noise barrier, and we are talking to the TD to turn the noise barrier into a landscape deck, so that they take the escalator, go to one level up, make use of the noise barrier to go across, and then they take a lift to go back to the ground level. So you don't have anything at grade. Is it technically infeasible? What about those having mobility problems? Are you forcing them to go down to the subway or take the lift or escalator to go up? If your only concern is about the wheelchair users, well, in fact, within the MTR stations, you have got all the lifts. They can take a lift to go one level up, make use of the landscape deck, or they can take a lift to go down to the subway, so they don't have to walk. So they can use the lifts to cross. Next, Ms. Emily Lau. I want to talk about a number of things. First of all, parking facilities, lack of coach parking spaces. When you go there today, you know it. You have got many coaches parked along the waterfront, so there is a shortage of parking spaces for coaches. So you need to take up the matter carefully. You are about to attract the tourists, so you must make sure there are sufficient spaces for parking coaches. And then for water transport, it would be important. And then for the Disneyland, I think the same idea was raised. For Disneyland, it was built, and yet it is not attractive. No one bid for the use of the pier.
Of course, you're not allowed to reclaim the sea there. You may provide temporary pier. You should use ferry service as an option when road traffic doesn't work. So it's an alternative. That involves cooperation of many government departments. But Chairman, you've heard that the CS doesn't want to be the coordinator. I think they're asking somebody, Mr. Zeman, Alan Zeman, is rumored that he should be the coordinator. Of course, he is a competent person, but then we're talking about so many government departments. So even Carrie Lam finds it hard to coordinate, and you ask a non-official to do it. Now, I hope that someone, the WKCDA and also people who represent the government can tell the administration, I don't care who will be the coordinator, but you must find somebody who is capable of and having the time to ensure that things will happen. Otherwise, when we meet with you, people will complain and things can't get done. So please relay my worry to the administration. And this is not the first time I have said this. WKCDA, you have to speak out. If you cannot make things happen, I'm not asking you to point fingers at anybody, but if you cannot do it, you have to let us know. Otherwise, it may be a slippage of half a year, 1 year, because the land has been left idle for 20 years. Yes, the use of the surrounding water. Well, you talked about water taxi. Well, this is a waste of time because you cannot carry too many using water taxis. Perhaps we should find time to discuss sea transport in particular. Well, have you been to Venice? You can ride gondolas to visit the beautiful scenery. And I think our harbor is very pretty, and we can use water transport as a tourism attraction. And a second issue, parking for coaches. You've got only 20. Of course, you expect them to move away after dropping off passengers, but then they will jam all our roads. You cannot turn a blind eye to that. So we have to follow up on this. So I hope you can provide an overall responses to the comments by deputations in 10 minutes. Is that okay? Which one? A lot of questions were asked by deputations. Who will address them now in 10 minutes? Some of them has been answered. Mr. Lam? Yes, many questions were asked, and I will tackle some of them. First, Mr. Yuen asked about connection with the older areas of the community. He asked a few questions, and I answered some of them here. The date of completion, the footbridge linking up the Artist Square and the Elements. We hope that it will time with the commissioning date of M+, if not earlier. And we're now working on the advanced works. And from West Kowloon Expressway, can there be another exit to this place? Yes, this is something we are also thinking about. The middle part may not be completed so quickly, so we'll see whether in the west there can at least be a temporary access. And for bikes, as you know, we always want to have good cycling facilities. We have implemented a pilot scheme. And other than the park, can we allow cycling along the waterfront promenade? Well, in our last slide, you can see from our operation plan that we're going to explore this possibility. And we will also discuss the future operation. And marine transport, we will do this in the future, right? Any supplements from the TD? Any? Mr. Lynch?
Just a couple of comments on the deputations. I thank them for their feedback. In regard to Ms. Keroz, I think the people of Hong Kong made the decision that they didn't want to sell the site off to private developers many years before any of us arrived. I would hope that that's still the dominant response from the people of Hong Kong, notwithstanding her figures that she's raised. In regard to Mr. Zimmerman's comments, I very much appreciate his support for the basement project, and the principles that underpin the basement is that this is meant to be a space that has universal access at grade to all of the facilities. Clearly, we do not want heaven and hell between the underground and the overground, and we'll be doing our very best to address those issues. And that's an important part of the next step. In regard to the Cycle Alliance, we are clearly committed, and I think have shown our bona fides with the Smart Bike scheme, which we are in the process of rolling out. We clearly are interested in terms of both the park bylaws and the park design, which we will be bringing back to the next meeting of LegCo to address any of the issues from the Cycling Alliance, and to be able to think about how what happens on West Kowloon connects with the rest of the city. In regard to Mr. Wu's comments about drink prices, we will do our very best, but I'm not sure that no, we have total control of that, but we will be making sure that anyone who needs a drink can get a drink. And in regard to Mr. Hung's comments, clearly the concerns about the MPV, I think, are many years into the future. We'll be making sure that the connections as part of the planning for when the MPV might arrive will have made sure that if the MPV is ever built on the site, that it will be there in a form that is able to deal with the traffic problems. And I'd echo the views of the Democratic Party: the sooner we finish the project, the better. Thank you.
Okay. 我哋揾1分鐘俾。
Thank you. 1 more minute? Or within 2分鐘內?
Okay.
Consultants?
Levels in the pedestrian deck area. Oh, sorry. The very idea behind the deck was to have at-grade pedestrian facilities over a very large area. And as the slide shows you, it's priority to pedestrian and public transport. We've actually tried to minimise road traffic. This is a level deck all in this area, and indeed it was driven by making it very easy access for mobility impaired people. The whole idea was that. We do unfortunately have to have a level change down to the waterfront, so there are plans for specific routes for mobility impaired that would be direct and give easy access to everything. So that was always in the thinking. Our big challenge is the hard edges of Kowloon Station, which is a podium design development, which is what these two developments, WKT and WKCD, set out not to be. They wanted to be putting people on the ground and not up in the air. But it does give us these difficult edges to go into the old area, which government have been looking at. But you can indeed walk at grade to Austin Station through the deck and to WKT Station. You have to go in through here up the escalators to get into Kowloon Station, but if you like, we were stuck with that. That was already there. That's the design. So this is very much people on the ground area, people first, and then flowing into the park. I think that, just to clarify the point, it's not within our development many hard edges, and there are our plans to deal with it.
好啊，我諗個人公司我哋已經俾咗好。
All right. Consultants, we have given you very good ideas, so I hope you have noted them and think about them. Okay, 1 minute for each deputation. Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Wu.
I think the issue is, and Ms. Chen has highlighted it as well, it's not what you're doing within the cultural district, because we know that it's all universal access. It's only going to be beautiful, but you can all slide along everywhere. It is the connection, which was the topic for today, between the cultural district and the district overall. And that's got to be provided by the Transport Department, that overall study. Now, Chairman, I urge you, given the feedback that were given to my comments earlier on by the various members, would it be good for you to conclude that the Transport Department should come back with a clear overview showing all the linkages at all different levels, including MPD, showing exactly the heights of those linkages, how deep and how high they are, exactly, so we can see where the people have to go up and down and where they have to do that. And the study area has been highlighted in our letter, but I must say it doesn't come through on the map very well. So if we look at the slide which says the road network again, then that one, the study area should be from above the blue, which is a central Kowloon route, all the way to the right of the red, and then the district as a whole should be a study area to show the mobility, pedestrian. And Chairman, my last point is on the pier. As a member of the Harbourfront Enhancement Committee, we have pushed government for many times to put that pier first of all in the town planning board presentation, and second of all to get started on it, because they'll have to go to public overrunning needs under the protection of the harbour ordinance. They haven't started yet, because TD says there is no franchised service, and so they don't want to do the work. They have to get on and do the job.
Okay, we get your points. Okay,
Mr. Wu, 1 minute. For your reference, Chairman, that is in Seoul, South Korea. They have tourist areas similar to Simsarjoy, and they have put in place a measure to remove vehicles there, and as a result, the traffic congestion in the whole of Seoul has greatly improved. So for the whole of Simsarjoy, I do agree with Zimmerman. The TD should consider the practice of many big cities. There should be more laybys or parking spaces for coaches, but you should reduce the number of small vehicles and consider facilities such as e-bus and bikes. Because our public transport is so successful, we should reduce our reliance on private cars. According to a TD, they have followed government standards. So roads are wider and wider. There are researchers showing that the more roads you have, the more cars you have. So I hope the TD and WKCD can respond to this point. Otherwise, any amount of car parking spaces will not be sufficient. So your views are heard. Mr. Chen. This morning I was almost late. Whenever I am stuck in a car, I really hope that I was on a bike. In fact, in many places, they are using bikes to address traffic issues. I think you only talk about easing traffic jams. You should change your mentality, as said by Mr. Wu. The more roads you build, the more cars you attract. So you should change your mindset. You should think out of your box. Do not allow private vehicles to be the major users. Please give them a lot of space and car parking spaces, because with these facilities, more private cars will come. You should make the place accessible for pedestrians. If you give priority to pedestrians and bicycles, then people will naturally flow into the area, and then integration and connectivity can be easily achieved. Mr. Hung. Thank you. The WKZ EZP was approved by the Town Planning Board in 2001, and for the plot ratio, I think you have to reassess the traffic linkage. I do agree with Ms. Emily Lau and Ms. Chen Yun Han. We have talked about fair appeared there for many times, and WKCD is to think about in what manner and how jetty can be provided. Well, we have talked about this too many times. When a pier was first proposed, I didn't hear any objection or resistance. So I think you should come to the implementation as soon as possible. And I know that you're going to convene a meeting on marine transport in particular, but I think I have reservation about a floating pontoon because there are high-speed vessels nearby because of the Hong Kong or China Ferry Terminal. Thank you very much for your valuable comments, and I think the TD and consultants must consider some of their views, for instance, a restriction of private cars or small vehicles into the district. This will have a major impact on air quality as well. When you cut down on smaller vehicles, then you can have room available for coaches. You don't need so many parking spaces. So there's something for the TD and the consultants to think anew. And what about the use of e-bus and also bicycles? Can we use bikes for connection with the older districts? Can we allow bikes from older districts to ride directly into the WKCD? Because we don't want just to make WKCD a very pleasant, comfortable place and things in a mess in other districts. So please reconsider integration and create a win-win situation, because if you just think about the well-being of WKCD, the other places may suffer. And please give us a schedule.
So please tell us how and when the pedestrian connections will be completed. So give us the timetables, please. Thank you.